very happy to meet you today. I'm always interested in meeting especially younger people in Armenia to have an open exchange of views. It is for me very fruitful to understand how you here in Armenia think, and it's one of my jobs as a diplomat to understand a country as much as possible so I can write credible and substantial reports to my headquarters in Berlin. I like dialogue, so I propose that I give a short introduction on certain issues, but that we should concentrate later on more dialogue, that you ask questions, and then it could be a starting point that we go deeper on certain issues, what you are really interested in. My experience is the worst events are when people leave after 45 minutes or after an hour. Either they say these are things I already knew, or these are things I was not really interested in, and the things I was interested in the speaker did not mention. I asked before the university what kind of what kind of things are you interested in, and I learned that you are students of political science, if I'm correct. As an ambassador, the rector mentioned, I'm here for approximately 2 years. And the role of the ambassador is also to convey the policy of your own country to the host country and to the people. And I understand you are interested in knowing more about what we are doing here in Armenia. What is the German policy in general? And I would like to start with this. And I said it to the rector before, somehow most Germans, whatever they do, they feel a little bit like a professor, and sometimes they want to go deeper. So my advice and my plea to you is, request is, if you think it goes too deep and too far, raise your hands and say, please go to another topic. But I try to be short. The question is, in general, when you are a diplomat, and you should ask yourself this question: what are you doing here actually? What is your task? What is your role? Why is Germany here? What is the policy of Germany? One should think about it to understand and to formulate maybe your strategy. How, if you know what you're doing is, how to convey the important messages and what kind of activities you develop. I think it's always very important to understand yourself when you start a job, what are you really doing. So it's not a vacuum that I'm working here. I represent Germany, a bigger country in Europe, and so I would like to start first about German foreign policy in general terms. And I also believe to understand a policy or politics of a country, especially foreign policy, one has to somehow understand or to have some knowledge about history. And the German history is not as long as your history. It's a young entity. I would say it's just 1,000 years old, around 1,000. You can talk about the German nation. But I want to concentrate on a few points. Why Germans, the German politicians, the foreign policy, and we have actually a consensus on foreign policy. So whoever will form the government after our election in September, there will no principal change in our guidelines, in our principles when it comes to foreign policy. But coming back to history, it's very important to know, and I'll make it short because you know it already. Germany was, for the most part of the history, was not united. There were hundreds of independent entities, and that led, for example, from 1680 to 1648, a 30-year period of wars, not so much between the Germans, but between the Swedes and the French and the Austrians and whatever. So proxy wars, what we can see now in other areas of this world now. In the 17th century, Germany was the perfect place for proxy wars. So it was very unsafe. Then in the beginning of the 19th century, Napoleon invaded Germany, and he took advantage that the German states were not at good terms at each other. He formed coalitions. So again, we were somehow victims of a great power. Then started to think about that we need unity, and it culminated with the forming of the German Empire in 1871 by Bismarck. And all of a sudden there was a big entity, a big state in the center of Europe, leading to the reverse reaction. All of a sudden our neighbors felt threatened, be the French, the Russians, whatever, and vice versa. There was a growing tendency that the Germans felt threatened by the neighbors. So Bismarck was the one who said we have to find the guys we are friendly with, and others it is clear that we will never be friendly with. So he decided to be friendly with the Russians and not so much with the French. But then it changed, and all of a sudden we had the First World War, where it was a big mess, and finally the concept of foreign policy did not really work out, at least not for the benefit of Germany and the German people. Then the time after the war, even more extreme, Hitler decided not to be friends with anybody. So maybe with the Brits, but with the rest, his policy was to have war for tactical or for strategic reason, and you know the outcome. 8th of May or 9th of May 1945, it was a total disaster for Germany, and the German politicians drew the conclusions what happened in the war, before, and even the First World War. And now coming back, German, at least the western part of Germany, the German Federal Republic, formulate a concept that means never ever a war from German soil. I have to say it was the same concept for East Germany, to be fair, but I'm talking more about the western part of Germany, because somehow the united Germany is more linked to West Germany than to the tradition of East Germany. To be cautious on that. So one of the principles was never ever war coming from German soil. That means to have this, it is a principle to have good neighborly relationship with everybody in Europe and beyond. Because we could not afford it anymore to be somewhere in between, and the war was too disastrous and in danger to have another war again. So in the 50s, Germany, Western Germany concentrated on the relationship with the West, with the United States, but also with France, normalization with France, reconciliation, and then the concept was born of the European economic community, and later became the European Union, that we need a framework, that Germany needs a framework that makes sure that Germany never ever again will have some strange ideas, some specific German ways. So we wanted, this was a clear decision by Adenauer, we want to have a concept that we are integrated in the broader international system, and that's the reason also today that we are one of the biggest supporters of European integration. And together with this, when it came to military terms, that we joined the NATO in 1955, again, that we are integrated and not to have any chance again to be a threat to our neighbors. So I already mentioned these are one of the basic issues, the European integration, military integration with the NATO, and then from the mid-60s and especially the 70s, normalization and reconciliation with the East to Willy Brandt, even before the government before him, but Willy Brandt had the courage to do some bold steps. And finally, we had the unification in 1990, which opened some new chapters. We became sovereign, fully sovereign, which we were not until 1990. So and there were more expectations from outside. First of all, there were, again, skepticism, I would say. Again, Germany lost the war, and all of a sudden they are united again. It's the strongest country in Central Europe or in whole Europe. So there were indeed some fears, especially on the western side by France and by Great Britain. These two partners were very reluctant after the fall of the Berlin Wall to agree on a unified Germany. Actually, Russia was much more open to it, and the biggest supporters was probably at that time was the United States. But again, it came up again the fear: what will Germany do as a strong, not only economically strong country in Europe, but now again a politically strong country in Europe. I think we have now more than 25 years, 27 years after the unification. The fears were baseless. There were discussions, of course, on that also in Germany, but it was a continuation after the unification of our concept that we want to have good neighborly relationship with everybody and that we want to bring peace everywhere. Because we think only peace brings stability, first of all to Europe, and then also to the neighboring areas. And why? It's first a philosophical concept, I would say, but also it has some practical consequences. Germany doesn't have its own resources. We had a little bit of coal and iron, but not a lot. So we depend very much on creative resources. So we produce things. We have universities, but we export also a lot. So we are the country in the world which depends maybe most on exports, and we export more than China and the US. So we very much depend on that. Everywhere in the world there should be a situation where we could also export our products. So this is, I would say, a side effect of this more general concept of having peace all over the world. So this is the general lines. So we have the European Union, then of course the connection with the USA, it's very important, not only because we are both members of the NATO, but we share a lot of values with the Americans. Then the next big entities, which are of course very important. This is Russia. Russia is the biggest country in Europe. Then, especially when it comes to economic terms, with the new emerging countries like China, India, Brazil. Especially I would say the last 15 years, we concentrate more to deepen our relationship with these countries. And then, of course, it's not only the European Union, what is next to the European Union. One area is the Mediterranean zone, and you have seen it the last 2-3 years, the refugee crisis, the war in Syria. It is a challenge for the European Union as a whole, but especially a challenge for Germany, because most of those who ask for political asylum in Europe, most of them finally are in Germany. At least it was the first years now. We try to find concepts how to distribute these refugees all over the European Union, which is unfortunately not that easy. And then those countries who don't have the perspective to join the European Union, but which we have special relationships. So I'm talking about Eastern Partnership, countries like Ukraine, Moldova, Georgia, and of course also Armenia. So because they're also very close to Europe, they are our neighbors. So this is the general framework of our foreign policy, and maybe some words about Armenia. Having said this, of course, we are interested in a in a peaceful environment, in a stable environment here in the South Caucasus. So we are very much interested that conflicts between the states here, I'm talking about the Nagorno-Karabakh conflict, will be solved one day. Of course, we are interested that the relationship between Turkey and Armenia will improve. We are interested that the economic situation in this country will improve, because we think stability is always linked also with economic prospects. And when people feel that they don't find good jobs in this country, they tend to leave this country, which is not good for Armenia. So we feel it is the responsibility, of course, by those who govern this country, by the society as a whole. But we think we could support Armenia on its way to make Armenia a better place. First, through our instruments with the European Union. One of the instruments is, as you know, is the new comprehensive enhanced partnership agreement, which was initiated a couple of weeks ago through the EU, also with the development program. The EU is by far the biggest donor to this country. When it comes to bilateral countries or bilateral cooperation, it is now Germany, which is number one. It used to be for a longer period the United States. I think since last year we are number one, but after the European Union. And we think we could help here the country on the path of reforms and modernization. We feel it's interlinked. I mean, if you want to have economic growth, you need the right environment to make it attractive both for the entrepreneurs in the country, but also to make it attractive for those from abroad to invest here. So they always ask the same question: is this a secure country? We can say yes, it's secure. There's hardly any normal crime, or it's a very low crime rate when it comes to robbery and this kind of things. But then they look at it, the whole region. We have the conflict in Nagorno-Karabakh that might influence the decision of international investors. But more, I think, it is the conditions like corruption here in the country, or bureaucratic obstacles. How does the tax system work? Can we import things as easily as possible, so with the customs? So these are the questions are asked, and it's all part of reforms, of modernization of the country. And we feel that we can, when we are asked, or when we are asked for that we can give some consultancy services, and that's the reason why GRZ, this is one of our implementing organizations, working here for many years now, since 1995, and we have different programs aiming at more modernization to this country. So this is a broad overview from history to the general German foreign policy to what we are doing here, or what is our intention. And having said this, and because I prefer to have more a dialogue, I ask you to raise your hands and to ask questions, or to raise the issues you are interested in, that we can develop this a little bit deeper.
Will the continuing deterioration in EU-Turkey relations in part will change your policy in South Caucasus region?
First, let's see how the relationship with Turkey will develop. Turkey had the referendum, as you know, a couple of weeks ago. It was not that clear, maybe, as Mr. Erdogan thought. So we have to see what will be the consequences for Turkey. But I can clearly say, however the relationship with Turkey will develop, our policy towards South Caucasus will not change. And I speak for Germany, and I speak also for the European Union. We we don't see. I personally, I don't see that there is any connection of it. We try to work to improve the relationship with Turkey, but even if it won't happen, I don't see that it has any implication on the general concepts of our relationship with Armenia. As I said, Germany and the European Union. European Union will continue. We are just at the moment to set the priorities, which is the European Union as a whole. Also, as a complementary measure to the partnership agreement, and we have to fill it with life, this partnership agreement. So we are fully on the track to further develop the relationship with the European Union. But I don't see any linkage with our relationship with Turkey.
Mr. Ambassador, thank you for your interesting presentation. I have 2 questions, if I may. First of all, you mentioned the new framework agreement between Armenia and the EU. And could you please present your expectations of this agreement? And as a follow-up quick question, we hope and think, rather often here in Armenia, that Armenia can become some kind of bridge between EU, where Armenia is a part, and the EU. Do you see this potential?
Yeah, your government took the decision to join the Eurasian Economic Union. It is more an independent decision. And later, now we have this new agreement, which is somehow complementary. So I agree with you. I think it's possible to have both. And in a way, it could be a bridge. For example, I talked with a German entrepreneur. He considers to set up a small production line, maybe at the beginning with 100 employees, and he clearly said it could be here. If I produce here, I can export more easily to Russia, or even to think about it, to export from here to Iran. And in this sense, I think it could be interesting for companies, for foreign companies to use it here. But again, the framework in general, there's still some space for improvement to do better. But in principle, I think it's not either or. I was always against this concept. You choose this or that. In this sense, I think you can follow the rationale behind your government that first relationship with Russia, and then as a complementary measure to improve the relationship with you. So I think it is possible, at least when it comes to economic terms. There are so many ladies, and only men in the first or second row. But please.
Please, ladies.
These ladies.
We are please.
Yeah, the lady first.
Good.
Thank you very much for this lecture. And my question concerns the recent process that are taking place in the European Union. What's Germany's role as one of the driving forces of the European Union in the future of the European system? Does it need any changes or reforms in order to oppose the obstacles that are currently facing the European system?
First, I would like to state that indeed there was a lot of dissatisfaction in Europe, in our countries, about how the European Union functions. Maybe there was some misinformation or whatever, but there are people who are not that happy with how the European Union works, and one of the results is the Brexit, for example. I don't agree that people are dissatisfied. I think it's a great project, maybe the most successful project in history, if I may say. There has been no war among European member states. We had prosperity for the last 50 years. But indeed, not everything is perfect. And that's the reason why I think it's now in the next coming years that the European Union should think about it where we can really improve it. Not to have tabula rasa, to start from the scratch. No, this would be wrong. But to be more self-critical about it. What was good and what is not good. For example, I think it's not good how we reacted on the refugee crisis. Refugees don't stop if you have open borders. The Schengen system, of course, they go wherever they want. But there's still some reluctance by some countries that they say, no, we are not responsible for refugees from Syria. I think there we have to work very hard because it needs consensus on these issues when it comes to legal system. So Germany has to play an important role. This is expected from outside, but also from inside. Even more that now Great Britain is leaving the European Union. So again, we have this, what I said at the beginning, all of a sudden Germany becomes more and more important, although we Germans, we don't want actually that important because we always feel ourselves, it could be considered a threat by others. But sometimes the situation is like this. So our concept was within the European Union, we don't want to go alone, because then it would be considered to be the hegemony by Germany. So we, from the very beginning, our strong partner within the European was France. And so we are very happy that now that the French voters clearly voted for a candidate who's pro-European. With other candidates, it would have been very, very difficult for our chancellor or for a future chancellor, whoever it will be. So there's expectation from Germany, also from German society, that this, we call it a French-Franco-German tandem or engine, will do more that we, not only when it comes to the Brexit, but also beyond that, to think about it, what can we improve. I think the discussion was, the last 20 years, was either integration or expansion. And it was decided to have expansion, but to forgetting a little bit what are the core issues and what is the comparative advantage of the European Union. And we should go back to this, to think about it, where we can really give more value to the European Union and to set better priorities. And Germany, of course, we are the biggest supporters of the European Union, and we will be in the front line to think about it.
Thank you very much for your speech, and I wanted to ask about future elections in Germany, and mainly about the foreign rights party leaders in general. And according to the European Council, this candidacy for the European Party and this is the end of the European. What do you think about it? And the next question is about the EU elections in the context of the refugee crisis, and what do you finally imagine relations in Turkey after some constitutional changes, after that kind of changes in Turkey? Thank you.
Okay, coming back first to the internal situation. Indeed, the last two years, or even more, 4 years now, 5 years, new political parties emerged. The reason why we have this is called AFD. It was they were dissatisfied with the euro. They said we have to have a better monetary policy in Europe, at least in the area where we have the euro. And then later with the refugee crisis, they were very critical on the policy of our government that we welcomed the refugees from Syria and from other countries in such a great manner. But having said this, the euro is stable. We have a flourishing economy. And the crisis with the refugees is not fully solved, to be fair, but it is not that much in the limelight anymore. And we see already, we had regional elections last week, so this party already just got 6% of the votes. In other states in Germany they were up to 20%. So I'm very optimistic that this party the influence of this party will not increase at the rate we have in September this year. And the same we have seen in the Netherlands, that the extremist parties also did not have the results they hoped for. And so it depends again what the national governments are doing on these topics and what the European Union is doing. So I think we are on the right track, and at least in Germany, populist party or extreme parties never really played a big role, and I'm confident that it will continue like this. Turkey relationship, I think there are a lot of question marks. But when it comes to the agreement we signed with Turkey in, was it March 2016, there were some people who said at the very beginning it will never work because we cannot trust the Turks, we cannot trust Mr. Erdogan. There are problems with the agreement, but in principle it works. Nobody talks about it anymore, but in this sense Turkey is a reliable partner and they delivered what we expected from them. But with the whole situation in the country, it's very unclear. I think really nobody knows it. What will be, how we will see Turkey in a year or 2 years. Maybe it's just speculation. Maybe Mr. Erdogan already reached his zenith and it is slowing down. The referendum was not very encouraging for him, I think. If you see that nearly 50% of the voters were against his concept of a presidential system. The economy is not working very well. Tourists hardly go to Turkey anymore. So it's very difficult to say how it will continue. What we are extremely critical of is this discussion they have in Turkey about the reintroduction of the death penalty. Turkey is part of the Council of Europe. Turkey is part of the OSCE, and it does not fit to concepts of these two organizations to think about the reintroduction of death penalty. And if you will introduce this, I think then it will be very difficult to maintain the level of negotiations we have between the European Union and Turkey. But let's see. That's the most difficult in political life is to see the future, what will happen. So in 1 year the situation could be totally different. We have seen it in the Middle East. We thought it was a stable region, at least most people thought it. I served for a long time in countries in the Middle East. I was never that optimistic that it will continue like this. And again, in countries like Egypt, they missed the opportunity to reform the country, to modernize the country, to bring everybody on board. And then you have a divided society with the secular forces, and then Muslim Brotherhood, and problems are not really solved in this country. Unfortunately, Egypt is a great country, but when I see it now, difficult, and the situation in Syria, I don't have to tell you how it developed, unfortunately.
Your Excellency, in this context, and the background of Turkish-Germany tensions, Erdogan breaking all rules of international ethics compared to a country with right. After all, how do you consider the further development of relations between your regions?
Yeah, as I said, it's difficult to say what will happen in the future. We have an interest that all countries that they develop into the right direction, based on the rule of law, respect of human rights, and so on and so on. And so we make some question mark if Turkey goes into the right direction. There's a discussion in our countries, could we stop the negotiations with the EU or not? Some people say if we stop it now, then we will also weaken those who believe in more reforms in Turkey. Others said enough is enough, we have to stop it. So it's very difficult at the moment to take the right decision. Finally, it is again, foreign policy can somehow influence other countries. But basically it's also a matter of the society itself, people there. And there must be also willingness to do it. You cannot, if you're from outside, you can propose things, you can give some advice, but finally it's in the hands of those who live in the country and to decide what kind of future they see.
CEO touched on German foreign policy, but my question is about German soft power based, let's say, activities, must they exercise these opportunities? There is a point of view that Germany is not that active as some other countries, say China is. And not that active as China, for example. I mean, on that only about this particular thing. Surely you will disagree with this point of view, and probably most of us will join your position, but let me ask you to share some details about German soft power-based activities in Armenia. Are there any serious problems, obstacles or impediments on that way? And what kind of new programs, soft power-based programs, should the Armenian society expect from Germany?
Okay. Yeah, maybe there is a perception that Germany is not that present here. Could be that maybe China is more present. What I can say, we have, for example, when it comes to the economic development, we have very big programs, especially implemented by KfW. In the energy sector, we are starting, we are fully in the process of constructing a 400 kilovolt electricity line to Georgia. So again, to have stability here, you need more regional cooperation, and it can be through person-to-person contacts. It could be also through energy, that you are more linked to your neighboring countries. This is a huge project. We are working on another infrastructure project like hydropower development. Energy efficiency is one of the points. So these are done by our development corporation, which has every year around 50 million euro. And this is quite big. I agree with you. Sometimes for normal people, it is easier to recognize a bus financed by the Chinese government in Yerevan than what is going in the countryside. I will take it up. Maybe we have to promote more what we are doing, or to make it more visible. But I believe I appreciate what other donors do. Everybody, I think, is welcome to do something here. But I believe that the priorities we set here, I mean, it's energy, it is infrastructure, it is good governance here. Good governance, it is also to make the villagers more efficient in their daily work, administration. So especially we work very much more in the countryside, and to see what we can do there, because Yerevan is relatively prosperous, but you have, I think, a deep problem between countryside and the capital. And I've seen so many bad examples that people in the villages have a very difficult time, and just a matter of years when people leave these villages. So I will take it up. We have every year we have consultations on development cooperation. It is very much in line with the priorities set by the government. So it is not, we don't impose our programs. We have the concept of partnerships, and we don't have any direct economic interest that we say when you agree on this credit or on this grants, you have to buy German products. Anyway, we have our standards within the OECD. It is not allowed anymore for long years. So it's more the general concept that we feel that Armenia should get the assistance to improve the situation here with all the aspects and the facets.
Ambassador. Thank you for coming to our university. And I would like to ask a question about Nagorno-Karabakh conflict. What is your position about this conflict? How are you going to solve this problem? Because in your speech you told that you are going to keep peace in our region. I would like to know how you are going to keep peace. What are you going to do? And the question about OSCE. You know that the office of the OSCE in Armenia is going to close. Do you see any interest that this office will open in Armenia one more time?
So of course we would like to see that there will be a political solution in Nagorno-Karabakh. Germany is not a direct player, as you know. It is the OSCE, these are the co-chairs of the Minsk group, and we fully support this process. But finally, it comes to the players here in the region, how far they are ready to give concessions, compromise. I feel sometimes that, at least in the Middle East, where I served, the word compromise has a more negative connotation, whereas in Germany it has a very positive connotation. Because through compromise you could find a solution which at the end will be a win-win situation. And so it is up to all actors here to think about it, to give the right signals to the other side for more openness. Unfortunately, the war in April was not a disaster because both sides lost a lot of lives, but I think the general conditions have become more complicated. What I feel here in your country, especially also among younger people, that the readiness to think beyond what is said here, to think about more what could be done, this readiness has been reduced since last year. And the government needs the support of the population finally, especially when it comes to the foreign policy. This was I mentioned the Eastern policy of Willy Brandt. He was a real statesman, and he had charisma, and he had the courage, and he knew at one point at the beginning, most probably there's not a majority of people who are ready to understand that the situation is different than before the Second World War. That means, how can we clarify the situation in the eastern part of Germany, which is now Poland? So he took the courage, and he was nearly toppled in parliament because he didn't have the majority, at least not in parliament. But he opened the discussion, and then maybe not directly, but later it was understood it was the right policy, and people overwhelmingly supported the eastern policy of Chancellor Brandt. But it needs sometimes courage to do something, and the courage to have a discussion, open discussion with the population, and to convince them if the government is ready for some new ideas. So, but at the moment I think it's still difficult, and maybe I would like to ask you what do you think what could be a solution for the Nagorno-Karabakh? I mean, the principles are clear, the Madrid principles. Now the question, how do you bring the two major principles, territorial integrity and self-determination, together? So it is not easy, but maybe, I said, maybe also dialogue from your side. Maybe somebody would like to comment how you see the situation in the moment. Do you have any hopes that there will be a change to the better? Do you think there will be war again? Maybe if somebody would like to comment. It's not a must, but I would appreciate it if somebody could say something on that.
Any ideas? Please.
I mean, definitely everybody has an opinion about Nagorno-Karabakh. It is so important for the Armenian people.
How is good?
Maybe more than for Germany about the lost provinces in the east, because it's. I understand, but if you don't want to comment, there was the second part of the question. the OSCE office, yes, it's a pity that it will be closed. It's now the third time that the office here in the region has to be closed after too busy. We appreciate very much that the government here was fully supportive of the OSCE office here. We appreciate very much. But obviously the discussions where we're not part of it directly now, since the beginning of the year with the Austrian chairmanship and the other partners, why it was not possible to find somehow a compromise. I don't have any detailed information what happened there. But it's a loss for the for me, but also for the OSCE as a whole. Because it will be the OSCE.
Please,
I'm very clear.
Let's take one more question,
Yes.
and then maybe Ms. Alberden will comment on that.
Maybe one question you already.
I have solutions, you know,
Yeah.
because I think that there is no Karabakh question. They are reply of Karabakh, and we need to understand what is the real position. For example, I have maybe one question. Could you help us to organize some contacts with the young people from Azerbaijan? For example, in Azerbaijan we have some other Slavonic university, and I think that everybody will be very happy to have some meeting with them in any neutral territory. Yeah? And it is very, I think that it's impossible to have any stable peace without contacts, you know, and that's why we need such type of help from anyone, and we will be very happy to have such type of work from you. I'm very sorry I have to ask you because I'm very busy one here. And thank you for your such type of open discussions. But I think that our students have more questions than they bring. Yeah.
But first to your, I could not agree with you more. That for the time being, I think at least what should we try to have more people's contact.
Yes.
In a different field. I know it is also this is not that easy, but maybe through university it could work better. There's a big program by the European Union. It's called EPNK. There are different partners involved in it. I will bring it up with those who are in charge of it to see that maybe some university could be part of this network and to have somehow some meetings. I think it's not realistic to think about it to meet in Armenia or in Baku, but maybe in a third country.
Some very specific educational project or program. It will be very, I think, that useful. It will be not only some, you know, by chance some meeting, but very important, some part of
I would take it up. We have a European Union special representative for this region. He's a German, Mr. Salva. So I will take up with this team to think about it, maybe to involve more universities.
Thank you very much. Be active more than you are now. Yeah.
Okay, how many questions?
I think one or two questions.
My question relates to education in Germany. Here in Armenia we have German academic exchange service, which helps only graduate students to get scholarships. And here's the question: is there any possibilities in future that German embassy would promote the idea of giving scholarships also to undergraduate students who look for full degree programs in Germany? Thank you.
Yes, you are fully right. It's our scholarship programs, they concentrate on graduates or even beyond supporting professors, others to have exchange. So for the time being, it's not envisaged to promote this. The other idea would be that because studying Germany is not very expensive, actually it is free. In some of the states you pay a nominal fee which is not very high. So the other idea is that you apply directly at the university. In Germany, a lot of them also offer now classes in English as a language of instruction, and to go there. But for the time being, I don't see any possibilities that we support young people for studying for a bachelor or something. Sorry to say this.
Okay, let's not push anybody. Thank you very much, dear Ambassador. It has been a pleasure to host you. We hope to welcome you again. The university is always open. And I hope that you enjoyed the tons of questions we had from the auditorium.
No, of course. Thank you very much that you listened to me. So it was not too boring. I appreciate the high level, high standard of questions you raised. Some of them make me think about it, what could be better. Yes, having said this, thank you again, also to you, to the initiative, and to the rector, and that you joined also the auditorium. Thank you.